Yes, so having discussed what depression is, how it is caused, I think now we should know how we can identify someone who is depressed, or even ask ourselves, how do we know if we are depressed? So, what are the signs and symptoms of depression that you know about, Teresa?
I think it's hard to identify depression because often it's not visible, and depressed people often act like they're super happy in public. So I think what we can do is to be good listeners and good watchers. So, for example, within our family, be present to your siblings, to your parents, and also to your closest friends, so that you can identify a change. I think that's what it is about.
So does the role go to the people around
Exactly.
us? Their duty?
Yeah.
Okay. That's really a big one. That's a big one. Yes, Luba? How can we identify someone who is depressed? Or how can we identify depression? What are the different signs and symptoms that we should look out for to just hit it on the head when we see it?
I believe, I think when it comes to depression, really it comes with different signs and symptoms, but commonest ones are when there's continuous low mood. Like someone is always having low mood, doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to isolate with others, is just alone in most cases. And the people sometimes they don't want to talk to anyone, and a lot of things tend to go on in their life. So, for example, when it comes to those who are introverted, the introverts, those ones, I believe that when it comes to them, they get the worst signs of depression because they will be extremely isolated. These are the people who find someone just maybe very far, alone in the national park.
Has worsened.
Like now, in the pandemic has extremely worsened. And I believe when it comes to people who have been having disabilities, or people who have impairments, sometimes we call them impairments, but commonly known as disabilities, I think this is the worst part on their side, because now, for example, in the pandemic, I'm disabled, I can't work, I'm a crippled, like I move, maybe I don't have limbs, lower limbs, for example, and I don't have a job, and I've been begging on the streets. So, no job, but the only source of income was on the street, begging. So, the pandemic hits. You find yourself, no one is on the street, everyone is home. You have nowhere to go, you have nowhere to work, and you have no. Now, you imagine that situation, how someone can now severely be depressed when you have a disability. So, anyway, when it comes to now the signs and symptoms, it is severe. You're isolated, you're lonely, the mood is low. But when it comes to other people, I believe those who have disabilities, I think is now the worst part of it.
What do you think, Daphne?
Me, I think how to notice someone with depression, the way the change of behavior, sudden change of behavior. Sometimes you're always with people. For example, let me say, like, we are friends with a person who has disabilities. Then suddenly he starts, there is what we do and there are things that they cannot do. So meanwhile, I think in that process they feel bad about it. Like sometimes you want to go somewhere like mountain climbing, now you lost call her. So when she sees like a posted pic, oh, we have gone for mountain climbing, and you did not tell her about that, I think the person keeps it, like they keep on keeping it, and they're like, okay, this case, I feel like I'm not even their friend. So there is an attitude they will bring upon you. So the next time you come to them like, oh, let's go and hang out somewhere, have some drinks. They'll be like, no, thank you, I'm not going for drinks. Oh, like they start acting weird, and you'll be like, what's wrong with this one? Just that's that depression that is sometimes I don't know how I'm supposed to explain this. I'm looking for a perfect way to explain this, but I'm not getting it very well. But people with disabilities, I've not been with one, but I've seen movies where you find like people with disabilities, a person who has for example, some, I don't know what I should use, but okay, name. Let me say if a person is lame. Then they've been hanging out with friends, and you find that the bad guy is now in the friend circle. I've watched some movies like that. Why? Because they think they are not loved. They think they don't fit in the group or wherever they are supposed to be. They think they are people with special needs, and they don't like that thing at all. So they feel like they want to do something extraordinary to show that, you know what, kids, I can also do this. So you find they're bringing out some weird behavior on you, on the other people,
Yeah.
So that's why I think.
Yeah. Definitely, there's a whole spectrum on the different signs and symptoms of depression, and they present differently for different people. So the best way that we can identify it is by us as the friends, the family, the teachers, the neighbors, being very keen and seeing those fluctuations in someone's previous behavior. If you are an athlete, love swimming, love basketball, and you stop doing what you love, that could be an indicator. And all those different things are indicators that can help you determine how mild or severe someone's depression is. So I think the role falls onto the people around the person, because usually the person who is mentally depressed would be the last person to admit or recognize that they are depressed, because it's the way their behavior changes may be normal for them, and by the time they recognize it, it's severe. So it's us, the friends, who can really, really tell whether someone is going into depression, be it mild or severe. Having seen those different signs and symptoms, so honestly, the next projection is how can we solve this problem? Because even the WHO stats say that almost over 1 billion people in the world are depressed. That's a lot, and those studies were done before the COVID-19 pandemic, and we all know what the regulations have been and how severe and how very restrictive they have been. So people have not been doing what they love. People have not gone to school, meeting their friends. Some people have lost loved ones. Some people have lost jobs, scholarships. So it means the number has gone up. So it has greatly increased. Yeah. So before we definitely go for medical help, how can we help find solutions and solve issues for those who are depressed? What do you think, Luther?
I think when it comes to depression, the first thing is to, for example, I'll give an example of if I'm depressed, it would be good. Sometimes it's hard to identify it like you are depressed, because sometimes you have lost reality with the world, like you have lost touch with reality. But if someone still recalls, like you can be able to feel you've changed, like I'm not myself, it's good to seek advice from maybe professionals or
how can you see that you have changed? How can someone?
How can you see that you've changed? First of all, if this day has been social, I'm with my friends, I find myself every time I'm lonely, and I'm thinking of things that are not, like sometimes you feel you want, because sometimes they feel like committing suicide, suicidal tendency. Sometimes you feel you don't want to eat, you lose appetite, you don't want to, a lot of things happen to you.
Mood is low, from how you used to be.
You feel different. But if you're fortunate enough to identify, to realize this within yourself, it's better to seek for help as soon as possible. However, social interaction would help, because people will be able to identify, oh, this guy has changed, what could be the problem? And then they can come in and help you. Yeah, at least one person will be able to come in and be like, there has changed. So what could be the problem? I think let's see how we can help them. But if you always isolate yourself, you're lonely, you don't want to be with people, you're ever somewhere lonely, then there's a risk of either committing even suicide, and a lot of bad things can happen.
True. So in a world where things are online, and we are not really meeting physically, can we say that a reduction or an increase in your online activity could be a sign? Let's say someone is used to posting, they used to, being very active online, and they just go quiet. Could that be an indicator?
Yeah, it can, because I can't recall the person, but probably last year, there's a lady who would post. She's a celebrity. She would post a lot of stuff, posting herself and at a very nice place. Like she was posting very nice pictures, showing herself here and there. Then later on, people would post, would comment, "Oh, you're looking beautiful. Oh, ABCD." But later on, she committed suicide. After committing suicide, she wrote a letter and she was like, "You know what? I've been posting myself, but I'm so sorry that you have not been knowing what has been going on. But this has been the reason. I've been severely depressed. I've been going through hard times." She wrote something. At least, this is a sign that sometimes when you're severely depressed and you're going through hard times, you can do something that people will not be able to notice your problem, and then they realize later when something very bad that has happened. So that is something that sometimes can happen. Someone can present in a way that you may not realize that is depression. However, now this is where it is important. If someone has friends, you sometimes need to come to your friends closer and sometimes interact with them. Get to know some of these issues, because some of us, everyone in life is struggling with something.
True.
Everyone in life is struggling with something, and sometimes you may not have someone to talk to. Like you don't have anyone to share your thing with, and then you're there, you're like, whom can I talk to? I think even God has just rejected me, so why should I live in this world? I think there's no meaning in life. And then you find you've committed suicide. But if I have a friend, if I interact with,
to respond and be like,
but you know what? Don't stress yourself with this thing.
Me too, I'm going through that.
Exactly. Life is just like that. But you have to, if for example, you told me, don't worry about life. Life sometimes has hard times and good times. So if you find yourself in this situation, don't mind, but try to cope up with the situation, because everyone is struggling with something. And then maybe you bring an example of something. Oh, by the way, maybe this and this has been happening, but someone is trying. Like people are suffering even beyond this. So don't stress yourself. Someone can be able to cope up, and with continuous interactions, someone tends to forget some of the things that have been pressuring him, because there are different things that bring about depression.
Teresa, what do you think?
So I think if you want to support someone to overcome a depression, we can't really, none of us is a psychotherapist, but you can be a supporter on 3 levels. Depends on your profession or in which relationship you're under. For example, on the individual level. So you can support a person to develop a higher self-esteem. For example, on an environmental level, the parents are important, the siblings, the friends, the peers in general. Social participation, getting structures again, that's what it is about. And also on an institutional level, of course, schools, teachers, what are they doing? Are there like self-help groups in your village? This can also help.
Yeah, definitely. That's very good. What do you think, Doctor?
Well, and how to help people
to overcome.
Well, about that, I think like people should try out new things. Like, for example, if I'm feeling bad, because most of the times I have also faced depression. The time I've tried almost other things and I feel I hate them. So sometimes when I want to overcome that, I always try out new things that I haven't done. Maybe I try out listening to new music, good music, music that hasn't been in my phone. Then I try to learn the lyrics of the song. So that one makes me to forget. Or sometimes I just set up myself. I be like, I'm going to make new friends today. I woke up from my hostel, from anywhere I be. I used to go on the road. I just greet people. Then one last time, I start jazzing with a person. So make friends like that. I easily forget about what is
You
discussed.
forget a lot of things if
very
you
true.
interact, like if you go into a social world, like you meet people, you try to find out other things that keep you busy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Forget those moments.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for the rich ones, they can just go visit, change place. I mean, like, because I've been in Mbarara.
Even the poor ones.
Mbarara by that time. I be
Uganda.
like, I'm not going to be in Mbarara now. I'm going to Gulu. I'm going to just anywhere.
I think even whatever your income status is, you can change environment, whatever it is. It's not really dependent on wealth. You can just have a change of environment. Then also, yes.
Sometimes I was going to say, sometimes you find you really want that, but then your pocket can't even allow you to do that. So
Because of course, change of environment is different. It's like going to the neighbor's house, going to your friend's place, like
Going to the next
going to
town.
the next
having a
town.
walk up somewhere.
So it's everyone depending on your budget. You can actually cope. I think that to help us really overcome depression, we need to, right from childhood, like as we are growing up, we need to develop coping mechanisms for different things, positive coping mechanisms. How do children react when they lose a pet, when they lose a toy? So you can even identify and teach children as they grow up how to cope with different things, coping with loss. Like academically, in most of our schools, they give you positions, and someone is ever the last. What do you think they are going through when they are always the second last, third last? So even how we teach, how our schools are structured, can help us, get those positive coping mechanisms. Then just even normalizing people talking about depression. I think we have had some of these common phrases of, what's depression? We don't get depressed here. Like, pick up, go and work. So even those who are depressed fear to talk about it because it has been kind of put in a bracket of, it doesn't happen. You're weak if you get depressed. You must be a loser.
yeah, that's
so
how you be
That's
feeling.
it.
yes. So we need to start even just talking about it now. We are trying to make it known because I, for one, I've been depressed in my life, and luckily I coped, and I know very many of us have been. So making it normal, making us aware and our community that people get depressed. Then putting systems in different institutions, right from at policy level, having guidelines that are directly deal with issues of depression or all mental health issues, having trained personnel in schools, in communities that can actually deal with some of this, because it can be severe. Usually for mild depression, we can deal with it at home with friends, but there's a period where you need to actually seek medical help, professional help, counselors, psychosocial support. So right from putting those policies and systems, let's also invest in having those skills, those people trained, and then even valuing these professionals. We have seen people actually, they minimize some professions, yet they are very important. If you go to some of these health systems, some of these people are sidelined. So having a one health approach, to value all these different professionals, social workers, counselors, they are very valuable. So we really need to, it's a multidisciplinary and multi-sector issue, and it starts from home, friendships, community, right to the state, policies. So talking about it helps, and I feel we are putting our 2 cents in.
An addition on that is that I've come to realize personally that when you come to healthcare systems, for example, because most cases you can be depressed due to a certain condition, because of a disease, because of certain trauma, and the first place you run to is a healthcare system, like a health facility. But you find that there are few professionals or psychotherapists in those facilities.
Yes.
Yeah, you can find a doctor, you can find a nurse.
A
But
surgeon.
if you are not trained
Trained.
to give psychosocial support, it's very hard to deal with certain things. And when it comes to the systems, really they have neglected that area.
Yeah.
And people are struggling with depression. People are, because remember we live in hardships. We tend to want to make it in life, and then you go through A, B, C, D, and there's a lot that you have to go through in life. At least at certain point you'll be depressed because of hardships sometimes, and that's the common thing. So I believe that if the systems, as you said, are put in place, for example, in a healthcare system, you find only a psychotherapist is in HIV department. They only give psychosocial support to people who have HIV. You're not giving psychosocial support to someone who has cancer. There's no that person in a cancer unit, in maybe a pediatric ward for kids specifically, because kids also go through these things, and we tend to ignore them.
And it's so sad for children because they don't have a voice. They can't express some of the feelings that they are going through.
Exactly.
So they need a professional, at times even their own caregivers, because we are blind to depression.
Exactly.
They can't even identify that this child is sick. I think being sick for a child is worse because they're used to running around, being with their friends. Now they're seated, they are ill, you get a disability, maybe. And for those who are born with a disability, they have another ball game of issues. Then those who happen to get one during the course of their life, remembering how they used to be and how they are now, that's another plethora of issues. So it's a very, very deep and intricate topic, and it requires all the help that it can get.
And we should invest in those areas, because these are the things that will keep us moving in this life.
True.
If we can't keep supporting our mental health, then we are doing nothing. The more we prepare our minds, our mental health in a better way, the more we're able to, continue with life, because we will always struggle in life. But to fight this, we should always be taught on how to manage these struggles. It's the only way we can make it in life.
I think we need to normalize
Other than-
therapy, not just having therapy. I don't know. Usually, before marriage, they give you therapy. Where else you get therapy? Like there are very few cases where you get therapy. But we need to get, even when you're okay, you can get therapy. Just
It's okay.
I know, like just go, because
Just to maintain your well-being.
maintaining mental well-being, and I think people need to know what health means. Health is not the absence of disease. No, it's not. It's about having emotional, psychosocial, mental, physical well-being. So this is part of us being healthy, and we don't have to wait to get sick to seek help. We need to
Prevention.
exactly.
And that sometimes you can be sick, but you aren't mentally stressed. Like you're sick, but you're not feeling it. Like it is not putting you in down. That is if you know how to cope up with
Resilience.
resilience.
Exactly. True.
So it is something that we need to learn. And how do we learn it? From our professionals,
Interactions,
from
therapy,
friends, interactions, and professionals, people who have been trained to do it.
Yes.
Because sometimes you interact with people, but they even don't know how to handle your situation. If you're depressed, they don't know how you would handle that very moment. So it's
This
good
has
to seek
been a
for
really
sometimes help from the right people. It's good to identify right people.
This has
We
been a
need to
really
do something.
This has been a really good discussion, and I think we are one step at a time, breaking these barriers, breaking the ice on the issue of depression, and at least normalizing discussing it, normalizing sharing about it, and normalizing seeking help, and building resilience all through the course of our life, from childhood to adulthood. And I think, there's different issues that children face, adolescents face, adults face, elders face. So please feel free to share your opinions in the comment section. Share our page, like our channel, and subscribe to the YouTube page. Join us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Spero Child International for more information on what we are doing, and just share any idea on what you think we should talk about in our next episodes. Bye-bye. Bye.